Hello students, welcome back, and we are going to start with our daily current affairs class. Today you have the 9th January 2021, and today we are going to cover your daily news or daily current affairs. And I'm basically referring the two national newspapers. The first one is the Hindu, and the second one is Indian Express. All right. So you can also refer these two national newspapers. Both of these are equally good. You can refer both of them also. Okay, and you can also use our classes for your daily current affairs. Also, we are also covering the important current affairs for various competitive examinations like civil services examination conducted by the UPSC. All right, so let's begin with the class. All right. So the first news is related to the internationalized domain name. That is the short form is IDN. All right. So there is a institution called the National Internet Exchange of India. In short, NIXI basically announced that it will offer right a free internationalized domain name. The internationalized domain name means it will be offering right the name which can be used on the internet and which will be used in any of these 22 Indian languages or any of these 22 official Indian languages, right? And it will have also the Indian IN domain booked by the registrant, right? So the registrant who is booking or who is basically registering with this will have IN domain, and any of these Indian languages can be used or can be preferred right in this format. So what you can do basically, you can get the free email in the local language. For example, if your local language is say Marathi, your local language say Kannadi or Telugu, you will get your free email in your local languages, and you will have the domain name ending IN. And you must also understand, right, it will basically stimulate the adoption of the Bharat IDN domain name, right? So you must understand the IDN means the internationalized domain name. So Bharat IDN name, which will be stimulated or which will be adopted if we use such type of domain. And it will also help in the proliferation of the local language content, because you must understand, if you are adopting the any of these 22 official languages, right, you would definitely promote the local language content also. Okay, and right, this would be there for the existing users, right? So those users who are existing, right, they can renew their domain in the month of January. All right. And those offer is also for the new users also. These new users can register up to 31st of January for this domain, and they can get right the free email in their local language. All right. So this will have this type of domain right as a address. All right. The next is government digital calendar and the diary app. So here you must understand, it is published by or it is released by the government. So it is called government digital calendar and the diary app, right? So here the Ministry of Information and the Broadcasting has basically launched this calendar. So it is basically a digital calendar, right? So, and it's also launched the dairy app, so where you can basically check out right different regional languages also. And it will basically do not have any sort of implications like every year you have to bring a new calendar, right? So it will basically do away with every year of purchasing the calendar. So you can basically use this government digital calendar and the diary app. So then the Minister of Information and the Broadcasting, the Prakash Javadekar basically launched this digital calendar. This digital calendar is basically is now adorned with the mobile phones, right? So previously the digital calendar was adorned with the walls, right? Now this digital calendar will be adorned with the feature called mobile phones. Okay, and this the initiative which is called the digital calendar is a environmental friendly initiative, right? Environmental friendly means it does not have any sort of implications like using the papers, using the ink, and all sort of all sort of a carbon emissions. So it will have definitely the carbon friendly or environment friendly initiative. Initially this digital calendar will be available in the two languages, that is in the Hindi and in the English. Okay. And over the period of the time, this digital calendar will be available in the 11 languages, right? From the 15th of this month. So you must understand, from the 15th of the January, this digital calendar will be available in the 11 languages, right? Apart from the Hindi and the English. All right. And you must understand, this calendar has a theme for every month. So every month will have the separate theme. And this calendar will also have the information of around 100 revolutionary programs which was started by the government of India. So by this calendar, the government can also project its programs which was started by the government of India. So it will have the information also regarding those revolutionary programs. So it will have the double benefit, right? It will basically enhance the reach of the government to the people, because people will be using this app or the digital calendar, and the people will be getting to know about those programs which was started by the government of India. And simultaneously it will also, giving benefit to those people who can basically take benefit out of these programs. And also government will be able to reach out to the diverse, to the diverse sections of the society through this medium. All right. This calendar and the diary app is available for download. You can easily download this from the Google Play Store, right? Which is there in your Android phone, as well as iOS App Store. You can download from any of these, the Play Stores. All right. And this app, which is also known as, the calendar app, this app basically was designed and developed by Bureau of Outreach and the Communication, right? So it is an autonomous, institution under Ministry of the Information and the Broadcasting. And as I told you, this app, since it is an app, so it will do away with the need of new calendar every year, because it is an app. So it will have automatic, some sort of a features which will automatically update your the day and the year, right? So it will be basically removing the need of purchasing the new calendar every year. And moreover, it will also have the programs. It will also have the information regarding the programs of the government. So you can also, get benefited out of it, right? Regarding the information about those programs, right? And you can download this app from Google Play Store also. All right. The third news is basically the center merges Jammu and Kashmir cadre officers with the AGMOT. Okay. So you know about the civil services examination which is conducted by the UPSC. So here you have the cadre based policy. Okay. So the students who basically get through this examination which is conducted by the UPSC, based on their merit and based on their preferences, the cadres have been allotted to them. Okay, so they have to work in their respective cadre for the remaining period of their tenure. Okay, most of the period of the tenure, except perhaps they will be required to serve the center on the deputation. Otherwise, they will be serving the center, right? They will be serving their respective cadre in the respective states. All right. Now there is cadre system, right? And their cadre system, like every state has its own cadre, like in the previous time. But now this cadre policy have been merged. So now government has made the group of the states which made a separate cadre, right? Now this reorganization was done by the government of India previously. Now what the government of India is doing now is, since the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act was passed by the parliament, which basically repealed the Article 370 and also make the state of Jammu and Kashmir as a union territory of Jammu and Kashmir, isn't it? So this Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act has made the Jammu and Kashmir as the union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, the problem the government is facing is that there are the officers who are working in the Jammu and Kashmir. All right. For example, IS officers, IPS officer, Indian Forest Service officers, right? These three officers are basically working in the Jammu and Kashmir cadre. Now the point is that now once you reorganize the Jammu and Kashmir, the government felt the need, since it is now a union territory, so it should be at par with the other union territories also. Okay, so now the need has been felt that the cadre of the civil services or the IAS, IPS or IFS should be merged with the AGMOT cadre. AGMOT cadre means it is a cadre for the union territories. So it includes the Arunachal Pradesh, Goa, Mizoram and union territories. right? So here the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir would also be merged in this Agmut cadre. So that means the officers who are serving with already in the Agmut cadre, which are there in the Arunachal Pradesh, Goa, Mizoram, and Union Territories, they can also serve Jammu and Kashmir. And simultaneously, the officer who was basically serving in the Jammu and Kashmir, they can also serve the Agmut cadre. So now that will have, the greater implications also. Okay, so that is the news which is flashing. So the center has basically merged the Jammu and Kashmir cadre of only all India services, that is IAS, IPS, and IFS officers, with the Agmut cadres, right? And the president basically promulgated this ordinance. You must understand, the ordinance route can be taken by the president of India under Article 123 of the Constitution. So under Article 123 of the Constitution, the ordinance route have been taken to legislate, right, on certain matters. So through this ordinance, amendment was done to Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019, which makes the IAS, IPS, and Indian Forest Service officers of existing cadre of the Jammu and Kashmir as a part of Agmut cadre, So what will be the benefit? The benefit would be, right, the officers who are basically serving in the Jammu and Kashmir, they can also work in the Agmut cadre. The officer who are working in the Agmut cadre, they can come and they can serve the Jammu and Kashmir also. It will have other benefit also. For example, you can say that there are shortage of the officers in the Jammu and Kashmir, so that shortage will be filled, right, from the Agmut cadre, because now officers will be able to serve in the Jammu and Kashmir, right, from the Agmut cadre also. All right. And you must understand, as I told you, that move will allow the officers to be posted in these states and the UTs to work in Jammu and Kashmir, and the vice versa. And there are the shortage of the civil servants in the in the Jammu and Kashmir. So if you make that type of arrangement of working the Agmut cadre officers, right, in the Jammu and Kashmir, so what will happen? You can basically tackling the shortage of all India services officers which are there in the Jammu and Kashmir, because you must understand, the Jammu and Kashmir government, or previously the Jammu and Kashmir, has the fixed ratio of direct recruitment to the officers which are basically promoted from Jammu and Kashmir state civil services. For example, there is policy called 50-50 rule. Okay, here the 50% entrant from the direct recruitment and 50% entrant from the promotion from Jammu and Kashmir state civil services. All right. But now for other states, it is 67 and 33. That means 67% people will be recruited, right, directly, and 33% people will be coming from from the basically from the promotion. So this formula will be followed in the Jammu and Kashmir also, just like the other states. All right. So ultimate purpose is to integrate the cadre of Jammu and Kashmir in the Agmut cadre, because now Jammu and Kashmir have become the union territory, and it will have the greater benefit of the integration of those officers which are basically serving in the Jammu and the Agmut cadre, and they can also work in basically in the Jammu and Kashmir union territory also. Now Jammu and Kashmir have become union territory by Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act. All right. So this is Jammu and Kashmir. You can see here the Jammu and Kashmir have become the separate union territory. The Ladakh also has become the separate union territory over there. Okay. Let's understand the new news that is related to the renewable energy. All right. So there is agency which is called the Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency Limited. So that is a short name is IREDA. The IREDA, the Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency Limited, has signed a memorandum of understanding with the National Hydropower Corporation Limited, right? That is called NHPC. So IREDA has signed a memorandum of understanding with NHPC Limited, right? So that it can provide, or it can assist the NHPC in terms of technical expertise, right? So that the NHPC can use that expertise in development of the renewable energy projects in India. All right. So there is a memorandum of cooperation, right, or memorandum of understanding between the IREDA, that is Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency, and the National Hydropower Corporation Limited, that is NHPC, right? So here the IREDA will provide the technical expertise. So you must understand here the IREDA would undertake the techno financial due diligence of renewable energy, right? And renewable efficiency and the conservation projects for NHPC. So it will provide the techno financial due diligence of renewable energy and energy efficiency and conservation product for NHPC. And IREDA also assists the NHPC in developing an action plan, right, for creation and acquiring the renewable energy projects for the next 5 years. So ultimately, the IRDA will be providing the technical expertise and know-how, as well as it will also help in the development of action plan for creating and acquiring the renewable energy. The renewable energy, that type of energy where you can renew that energy, right? It is not exhaustible, just like a coal and petroleum, which is exhaustible, which is non-renewable. But renewable energy, for example, solar power, it is a renewable gas, right? Renewable energy. All right. So like that energy. So to give the technical know-how and to provide that financial assistance and the technical assistance, right, to make an action plan, right, so that the National Hydropower Corporation Limited can create and acquire, right, the renewable energy projects for next 5 years. The ultimate purpose is to reduce the carbon emissions or the greenhouse gas emissions from the non-renewable energy sources. And ultimate purpose is to reduce, the anthropogenic, impact on the climate or in the atmosphere, which will definitely reduce the atmospheric, increase in the temperature, and that will definitely would give, the benefit in terms of the environmental changes. All right. And regarding this IREDA, so IREDA is working under the administrative control of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and National Hydropower Corporation Limited is working as a PSU under Ministry of Power. So both of these are working separately under different ministries. So there is, close collaboration and the cooperation between the ministries of the New and Renewable Energy and Ministry of Power for the the creation of renewable energy projects, as well as the acquiring of the renewable energy project. For that, the NHPC would require the techno financial aid or the technical assistance, and that will be provided by IRDA through this memorandum of understanding between these two ministries, or roughly you can say between the NHPC and IREDA. All right. So this is the news regarding the IREDA and NHPC for the creation and acquiring of renewable energy projects. All right. Let's understand the prevention of cruelty to the animals, care and the maintenance of case property animals rules 2017. So let me give you a brief background, then you will be able to understand. In 2017, the government of India has passed a bill, right? Or it has basically amended the bill, which basically provided, right, or basically it made a rules under the Prevention of Cruelty of the Animals Act, right? So under this act, the government made a rules, and under this rules, the government basically made a rules in such a way that if any owner or any farmer or any butcher, if they are found in suspicious circumstances of, you know uh, of intention of even, killing that animal, or any, for the guilty of cruelty towards the animal, such farmer or such person will be deprived from their livestock, and such livestock would be taken back from the farmer or from the person, and it will be seized, and it will be just put in the gaushalas, right? And so that the point is that if you just based on the suspicion that the farmer can, or the person is going to kill the animal, based on the suspicion, or based on the suspicion of cruelty, if the person is committing the cruelty towards the animal, based on the suspicion, without proven the guilt in the court of the law, if you're just confiscating the animal from the person, it is against the law, which is prevention of the cruelty against the animals, right? It is against the law, and the Supreme Court very clearly said that the center should delete this rule from the 2017 rule, which is made, right, regarding the confiscation, or regarding the seizure and confiscation of the livestock from the people based on the suspicion, right? So the law which provide that if the owner of the person basically found guilty, then only the livestock can be confiscated. Otherwise, it should not be confiscated. But here the rule says that even based on the suspicion, also you can confiscate the animal and you can seize the animal. How can this be? These two are equal. So here the law says different and the rule says different. So the Supreme Court basically warned the government to change these rules. Otherwise, the Supreme Court would basically stay the implementation of 2017 law. Okay, which basically allowed the seizure of the cattle by the authorities just mere on the suspicion. Okay, and this is just a warning to the government of India to amend the rules. All right, and you must understand, as I told you, that the livestock which are basically seized from the farmers or from the persons, they will be lodged in the gausalas, right, as a property, and the cases basically awaits the court verdict. And the point is that in India, the court verdict never comes on the time, so the farmers loses their ultimate, the source of the livelihood, that is their cattle, right? So cattle provide the farmers the meat, milk, right? The different sources also, like to transport a lot of things also on the back of the of cattle. If the government is just snatching or taking away those livestock, the livelihood of the farmers also will be lost. So here the point is that you are taking the animal, ultimately losing the person their own resources for the livelihood. So that two are not equating, or not those two are not equally good, sound good under the law. And you can take the animal based on the guilty of the charges. Otherwise you should not take the animal back, right? And it is basically, the rules are made under section 29 of Prevention of the Cruelty Act, which is the act which was passed by the Parliament of India. So under which the person who is convicted of the cruelty can only lose their animals. Otherwise, other people who are just merely on the suspicion, they should not lose their animals, right? Oh, all right. So this is the news which is flashing in the Hindu newspaper. All right. So this is the picture which depict the farmers and the animal. All right. Then subsidiary bodies of UNSC. So UNSC basically United Nations Security Council. Okay, it is basically United Nations part. So you must understand that India is not a permanent member of United Nations Security Council, but the India's permanent representative of to the United Nations Security Council, who is basically TS Murthy, has recently informed that the India is going to chair the three key subsidiary bodies of United Nations Security Council. So these subsidiary bodies basically help the United Nations Security Council to take the major decisions, right? For example, these subsidiary bodies may be related to the terrorism, may be related to sanctions, may be related to any sort of a things, may be related to the human rights. All right. So these subsidiary bodies are set up under the United Nations Security Council for the purpose of providing assistance to the United Nations Security Council. Though the India is not a permanent member of United Nations Security Council, by getting this, the key subsidiary bodies, the chairing of these key subsidiary bodies will be having the greater implications on the India's stature on the international affairs, because it will have definitely the upper hand on the on the India regarding chairing of these important panels, right? So these panels which are to be chaired by the government of India or by the India is the Counter Terrorism Committee. So this is one such committee. In 2022, the India will chair the Counter Terrorism Committee, right? In 2022 only, the Taliban Sanctions Committee. This Taliban Sanctions Committee basically deals with the sanctioning on the Taliban. Taliban is basically functioning in the Pakistan and Afghanistan. So all sort of a sanctions related work will be based on this Taliban Sanctions Committee. It will basically, these committees are recommendatory committees. These committees do not take the decisions; they just recommend, and based on that recommendation, the United Nations Security Councils take the actions. Okay, and it has no such mandate. Only the mandate lies with the United Nations Security Council, but it will definitely, just like a standing committees with the Parliament. Okay, the Parliament also has the standing committees which will assist the functioning of the parliament. So just like that, there are the committees with the United Nations also. So these committees basically assist the functioning of United Nations. So here the India will chair the counter terrorism committee, which will be related to the terrorism related activities, Taliban sanctions committee related to the Taliban related activities, and Libya sanctions committee. Libya is a country, right, in the Africa. So the sanctions on the Africa, sanctions on the Libya, which is basically currently undergoing. So the sanctions related to the Libya is also chaired by the India. Okay. Now India will chair this counter-terrorism committee of UNSC in 2022. So it will have the greater impact on the India's stature. As I told you, that India is basically forefront in the fighting of the terrorism-related activities, and India is also the the victim of the terror, which are basically projected from the Pakistan, right, across the borders, right, in the form of, say, proxy wars, in the form of the blast and different type of terror related activities, supplying the counterfeit currency, supplying all sort of a weapons and the ammunitions to the terrors, the sleeper cells which are functioning in our country. So by chairing of this counter terrorism committee, it will have the greater impact on the India's stature to fight this terror related activities. And as I told you, India is also one of the biggest victims of the terror related activities, which are running mostly from across the border, mostly from Pakistan, right? All right. And the Taliban sanctions committee is basically always on the high priority because we have our stake in the Afghanistan. The point is that the Pakistan do not want the India's involvement in the Afghanistan matter, because the Pakistan is always in the suspicious of India and Afghanistan relation. The Afghanistan does not have any problem, or the Taliban does not have any problem. The Taliban welcomed the India's assistance because India has also have given the billions of the dollars in the Afghanistan for the developmental projects. For example, India constructed a dam which is called Salma Dam. India also constructing the road, right, the bridges, the buildings in the Afghanistan, which is also the showing the friendship gesture towards the prosperous Afghanistan. If the Pakistan is basically trying to stop all such the bilateral relationship or good bilateral relationship between India and Afghanistan, so by chairing this Taliban sanctions committee, right, it will have the greater impact on the India's push for the peace, security, and the development and the progress of Afghanistan, because that is what the India also want. A peaceful Afghanistan is good for India, right? In the same way, the peaceful Pakistan is also good for India, but the Pakistan is not is allowing to have the peace in the Pakistan, and that is basically is causing the problems in India and Afghanistan relationship. All right. So by chairing this committee, the India will have the upper hand in Taliban sanctions committee. All right. And third, the India will also assume the chair of Libya sanctions committee. So it will have also some impact regarding the Libya and the peace process. So India will get some sort of a the positive gesture in in sorting out all such international issues regarding the Libya. All right. And in that move, the India is also pushing its membership for its permanent membership for the United Nations Security Council. So by holding these important the committees, the India's stature regarding the holding of permanent membership of United Nations Security Council will be further boosted. All right. Let's understand the next news, that is advanced biodigester MK second technology. So you must understand, there are the normal toilets which are there in our homes, right? These normal toilets are basically connected with the sanitary sewers, right? These sewer lines are there which are connecting with some tank, right? So these tanks are further connected with other big sewer lines. So like that, there are many the toilets which are connected with the sewer lines. And in that process, you also need some water, you also need some sort of a the treatment system for that type of human waste. But here the Defense Research and Development Organization has basically developed the eco-friendly biodigester, right? This eco-friendly biodigester unit would basically shorten or will basically reduce the scope of using of water, right, in the sanitation process, and it will basically the treat the human waste, right, in the more eco-friendly manner. So here the DRDO, which basically developed this technology, which is related to the eco-friendly biodigester technology, right? Here the eco-friendly, this units will be used in the Maharashtra Metro Rail Corporation. So there was, there is an agreement between these two, DRDO and Maharashtra Metro Rail Corporation, which are working together to conserve the water, because Maharashtra does not have the enough water, potable water, right? It does not have the water itself, right? So the point is that you need to conserve the water and you need to protect the environment just by putting this type of, advanced technological, units, right, in those facilities. So now the MOU was signed between the Maharashtra Metro and DRDO, right? And the DRDO will provide the technical support for implementation of this, you know, this biodigester MK2 technology, right, for the treatment of the human waste in the metro rail network. So instead of providing the normal toilets, this the eco-friendly biodigester unit will be provided, right, to the Maharashtra Metro Rail network, and it will be having the greater impact on the conservation of the water as well as the protection of the environment. All right. And as I told you, that DRDO's biodigester is indigenously built. That means the technology is indigenous, and it is green mist. It is basically less polluting and it is cost effective also, right? And it is, the DRDOs first of all is providing this type of technology to the different government of India units also. The Indian Railways already installed 2.40 lakh biodigesters in its fleet of passenger coaches. You might have seen is also in the railway trains that many such biodigesters have been set up in the railways coaches. All right. And Maharashtra Metro will be using this technology or revamped technology, right, in order to save the water and the space, right, regarding the installation of the toilets, all right. So this is basically the news which is related to the biodigester, right, eco-friendly biodigester, which will be remove the need of using the excess water and the space for the toilets for the sanitation purpose. But here the eco-friendly technology called biodigester will be using, right, the minimal amount of water for basically digesting this human waste. All right. Next, Mera Gaon Mera Gaurav. Okay, it is basically a program which was started by the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, in 2015. So this program was launched by Narendra Modi in 2015 itself. So now that news which is flashing regarding the ICAR initiative, that is ICR means Indian Council of Agricultural Research. So under ICR initiative, the Mera Gaon Mera Gaurav cleanliness drive have been carried out recently in the few villages which are in the Abrahampur, Welling, and the Para villages, right? So here the cleanliness drive have been taken by the ICAR, that is Indian Council of Agricultural Research. Okay, so let's understand the objective of Mera Gaon Mera Gaurav program. So under this program, Mera Gaon Mera Gaurav, the objective was basically the farmers. The problem is that farmers are facing a lot of problems regarding the information, regarding the knowledge, right, regarding advisories for agriculture related operations, right? They don't have the timely information, they don't have the timely knowledge, right? If that knowledge is not available to them, it is very difficult for them to to manage their crops, right? To fill that deficit, right? To fill that deficit, the scheme was launched, that was called Mera Gaon Mera Gaurav. So under this scheme, right, under this scheme, the direct interface was provided between the scientist and the farmers, right? So here the concept called lab to land process. Lab to land means the the scientists will be working in their labs, and the farmers which are working in their land will be connected, will both will be connected. So here the direct interface between the scientist and the farmers will be provided, right, through the concept called lab to land process, right? And this scheme will be launched, or this scheme will be implemented by Indian Council of Agricultural Research. ICR basically an autonomous body, right, which are basically mainly responsible for coordinating of agricultural education and the research in India. And this body, which is also known as ICAR, reports directly to the Department of Agriculture, Research and Education under the Ministry of Agriculture. So ultimate purpose of Mera Gaon, Mera Gaurav is to link, right, the both the farmers and the scientists, right, which is under the lab to land process, right, through which the farmers will get the timely information, the timely knowledge, and the timely advisories, right, on the regular basis, right, for various types of activities like regarding the sowing, cultivation of the crops, regarding weeding, regarding different type of fertilization, right, all sort of things, the information which require the farmers to, the timely information is required, because if the timely information is not there, it will be very difficult for the farmers to adopt certain type of the best agricultural practices, all right. And it will also have the implications on the production and the productivity of agricultural sector, all right. Let's understand the next news, that is NCAVES India Forum 2021. NCAVES India Forum. So what is NCAVE? First of all, you understand NCAVE full form is the National Capital Accounting and the Valuation of Ecosystem Services. All right. So it is basically, a forum to basically account and the value of our ecosystem services, because you know that the ecosystem services is provided by the natural environment, right? For example, the forest provide you the lot of oxygen to breathe, the right, and it also provide the soothing environment, aesthetic or aesthetic look, right? The clouds and all sort of things have been providing you the space for the water, all sort of ecosystem services which are providing you, right? Also ecosystem services include, for example, the foods, right, the timber, right, the vegetables, right, the raw materials which are provided by the forest, all sort of ecosystem services are there. But there is less accounting, right, or there is a less valuation of those ecosystem services. In order to account, in order to value those ecosystem services, the NCAVES forum is going to be launched. So this NCAVE India Forum 2021 is organized by the Ministry of Stats and the Program Implementation to account the valuation of ecosystem services in India. It is a new process. It is a new innovative process, because until now we are not focusing on the valuation of the ecosystem services, and we are taking for granted these ecosystem services which are provided free of cost to the humans, and humans are taking them for granted and disturbing the ecological system or ecological balance, and which is adversely impacting the environment and the humans also, right? So this NCAPE project is basically funded by European Union, EU, and this NCAPE project is jointly implemented by the United Nations, the Statistics Division, that is called UNSD, and United Nations Environment Program, that is called UNEP, and the Secretariat of the Convention of Biological Diversity. So it is jointly implemented by these three principal organizations, and India is also one of the 5 countries which are taking part in this project. So only 5 countries are part in this project, which are called NCAVES Forum, and NCAVE India Forum is already been launched, right, by the Ministry of Stats and the Program Implementation, and India is also part of this this project. And apart from that, there are four other countries. The 4 other countries are Brazil, China, South Africa, and Mexico, and India. So apart from India, there are 4 countries, and including India, there are 5 countries which are the part of NCAPES 2021. Right. So you must understand, as I told you, this NCAPE project is implemented by Ministry of the Statistics and Program Implementation, with a close collaboration with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and the Climate Change, and the National Remote Sensing Center. All right. And how will you value? How will you evaluate, or how will you, give the accounting to the ecosystem services? For that, you need a participation. You need the participation in the project, and you need to compile the environmental account, right, as per the definition provided by UNSEEA framework. So as per this framework, right, the environmental account has to be compiled, they have to be made, and such compilation would be released from the time to time as a publications. And India also started using this the environmental account, right, which are already published by the government of India in its publications, which are known as NVSATS India. So under NVSATS India, the government of India right? Or the Ministry of Stats and Program Implementation, basically providing the information regarding the valuation of the ecosystem services which are provided by the ecosystem on the annual basis since 2018, right? So this NV says is basically NV stats is basically the statistics information regarding the valuation of the ecosystem services. All right. And the India will basically use a tool to develop, right, what is basically which is important in order to give the value to the various ecosystem services, right, in the different states of the country, right, based on the various studies which will be conducted across the state, across the country. So based on that, based on which we will also come to the different tools to value this ecosystem services in our country also. All right. So this is NCAVES India Forum 2021. It is nothing but the National Natural Capital Accounting and the Valuation of Ecosystem Services. And it will basically enable the valuation of the ecosystem services in the data-driven decision and the policy making, which will basically help the policy maker to enable them to make the realistic policies, right, which can basically achieve the desired result. All right. Let's understand the new news, that is Sarat Chandra Bose. So first of all, let's understand who was the Sarat Chandra Bose. The Sarat Chandra Bose was the brother of Subhash Chandra Bose. Okay. Now the PM Modi, basically what happens is the recently the news is related to the daughter of the Sarat Chandra Bose. So the daughter of the Sarat Chandra Bose, who was also known as the Professor Chitra Ghosh, who was recently died, right? So because of her death, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed the grief, right? The Professor Chitra Ghosh was the youngest daughter of Sarat Chandra Ghosh, and she was also the niece of the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. So the contribution regarding the Sarat Chandra Bose, you must understand, the Sarat Chandra Bose was basically an Indian barrister, and he was also the independence activist, right? He was born in 1889 and he died in 1950. All right. And also you must understand, in 1933, in 1936, the Sarat Chandra Bose also become the president of the Bengal Pradesh Congress Committee, right? He became the president of Bengal Pradesh Congress Committee, and he basically served as a member of All India Congress Committee, right, from 1936 till 1947. So he was the member of the All India Congress Committee, right? And you must also understand that from 1946 to 1947, right, the Bose would lead a Congress delegation to the state legislative assembly, and it was his contribution. And he was strongly supported the formation of the Indian National Army, right, by the Subhash Chandra Bose. The Subhash Chandra Bose basically formed the Indian National Army, and his brother, right, who was basically the Sarat Chandra Bose, basically actively supporting the formation of Indian National Army. And the Sarat Chandra Bose actively participated in the Quit India movement also, in the Quit India movement also. All right. And as the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose died in 1945, after his death, right, the Bose or the Sarat Chandra Bose basically led all efforts to provide relief and aid to the families of INA soldiers. So Indian National Army soldiers. So the Bose or the Sarat Chandra Bose provided the relief and the aid to the INA soldiers, right? And it was provided through INA Defense and the Relief Committee. All right. And in 1946, he was, or Sarat Chandra Bose was appointed as a member of interim government for works, mines, and the powers, right? So it was the interim member, means it is a position of the minister, right, as an interim government and the National Executive Council led by the Jawaharlal Nehru, right? And it was presided by basically the Viceroy of India. So he had the portfolio of the work, mines, and the powers, which is of the position of the minister, right? Which was, council which was led by the Jawaharlal Nehru. And also after independence, right, after 1947, right, the Bose or Sarat Chandra Bose basically led his brothers, who was basically, the Subhash Chandra Bose, the forward bloc, which was basically constituted by the Subhash Chandra Bose, right, and also formed the Socialist Republican Party, which basically advocate the socialistic system, right, for the Bengal and the India. So it basically propagated such socialistic system for the Bengal and India in this regard. In this regard, all right. So it is how the contribution of Sarath Chandra Bose regarding the regarding the Indian development, right? Regarding India's independence, Quit India movement, regarding the INA Defense Relief Committee, regarding INA soldiers, right? He also held the portfolio for works, mines, and the powers also. All right. So he was basically Subhash Chandra Bose, and he was basically the Sarath Chandra Bose. All right. So both were basically brothers. All right. So thank you very much for attending this class. Thank you. We'll meet again tomorrow for our next session. Thank you.